Hello, welcome to I was looking at chat. Welcome to the stream. I was looking at chat before we began, and I saw Joseph. Yeah, the late show with Angela Clack. The way you spelled it out, I loved it. It was perfect. Oh, welcome. Today we are streaming at for right now our new time. Will this be where we settle in? That remains to be seen. It's been a very busy week. But I'm really happy to be sitting here creating with you guys today, right now, because I could use some art time for sure. It's been super busy. Hello, everybody in chat. Dolphin Soul, Tara Giblin is here. Joseph is here. Other Tara is here. I see Wildflower and April. Thank you all for joining me. If you want to join us in the chat, if this is your first time catching a stream because of the new time, welcome. So glad that you have joined us. All good. Thank you. Okay, so if you would like to drop in the chat and say hello and hang out with everybody, I invite you to do so. All you have to do is click that subscribe button, and that gets you access to the live chat and talking with myself and everybody else that is here watching. So today we're working on this project right here. So this is one from the color cubes, which right there, the color cubes. We covered those last week during the stream, and this was one that you guys picked. Two of them were picked, and we had more votes for the other one, so we did that last week, and that was actually this one. This was one of the images from the color cubes. And then this week we're gonna do this one. I was really looking forward to this one, and looking at it, I think we're going to use some watercolor and we're going to use some gouache. So I have my Daniel Smith watercolors here on the desk. I have a palette. I have my Daniel Smith watercolors and my Daniel Smith gouache. You can use whatever you have. Okay, I will let you know what I'm choosing, and we're going to be going by some of the colors we see here. And I just want you to understand, if you have the color cubes, and I've noticed this on a few, you have a palette here. These are the prominent colors that are in your scene. These aren't necessarily, there we go. These aren't necessarily all of the colors that you will need to paint the scene. So you may see me have to grab a few extra things to make this happen. But that's because, think of this as a guideline, okay? So as a guideline, not necessarily you're only going to need these 5 colors and you're going to be able to do, whatever 5 colors are on your little card if you have the color cubes, and that will be it. Hi, Nessa Wolf is here. Michelle is here. Hello. I'm so glad all of you are able to join me today. And again, if this is your first time because the 6 o'clock hour Eastern time is what's more convenient for you, then I'm glad that you're able to join us. I am going to drop down to the desk and we are going to have a look. All right, so I have my Daniel Smith. This is my Daniel Smith gouache palette. I sprayed this earlier, which I shared with some of you over on Patreon, that I had given it a spritz to try to wake up some of this gouache because it's pretty dry. And I have my swatch card. So in this palette comes with like this little guy here. And these can actually, I don't have this palette linked below. Everything else is linked in the description below. I completely forgot about linking this palette. But you see here, this sets up underneath, and then the top part that goes on wherever I just placed it has like a silicone gasket in the lid. So when you press that on, it actually goes that way. You can put that on there, and when it clicks down, it actually holds that white palette piece in place, so it won't get lost. And then when you open it up, and I like to store my swatch card in between that mixing part. And of course, you see I've mixed on here before. You can see some of the colors have stained, but it has little slots in there, and you can actually just pop it in like that. And it does have a I don't want to tip it because this is wet, but there's a thumb ring here. So I could actually hold this like that if I was going to take this and say, go paint outside. That said, I don't think I'm taking this big of a palette with me if I went to paint outside, and we're certainly not going to use that today. But those are the features of the palette, and which I know I've shared this palette with you back when we did the Daniel Smith gouache. And this paint has been in there since then, and it's done really well. We're going to, real quick, I just have a piece of my bee inspired watercolor paper. Let's see. Wildflower says, now I will have to buy gouache too. Well, maybe, but you know, only if you want to. And the other Tara says, Daniel Smith gouache is scary expensive though. Now the other Tara is across the pond, right? So here in the US, the Daniel Smith gouache isn't as pricey as some of the other gouaches that you can get in some of the other brands. Get what is affordable for you, what you like to paint with. Only you can make that choice, right? So, and certainly you can use what you have. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some other gouache here. I'm just folding this in half just so that it will fit better. It's just a piece of 9x12 bee inspired watercolor paper. Just because I'm going to do a little swatching real quick to play with these colors and show you what I might be using. Okay. And April says, I love gouache because it dries matte. Yes. And Nessa says, I haven't tried gouache. It mystifies me, honestly. So that is excellent. I'm glad that you guys are here then, because perhaps we will show you something that might make you a little bit more interested in giving this a try. So when I look at this card, this color here, as far as the Daniel Smith gouache goes, looks kind of like that Cascade Green, which is going to be this one right here. And this gouache did get nice and soft, which is wonderful. Right, so we have this Cascade Green. Now, I'm not going to use regular Cascade Green, which is funny that this is the color because we just talked about this not long ago. It was in the last studio hangout. I thought I had this green, and actually I do. But I actually didn't care for it. Now, see, that's it watered down, using it more like a watercolor. Cascade Green kind of separates, and you get this like blue and this green going on, and it's really an interesting color. But when I swatched it, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't think I actually cared for it because it never made it into my palette. Meaning the watercolor, not the gouache. Okay. Then when I look at our orange, which is like this primary orange in our sunset here, that really vibrant, I'm looking at, it's not quite Pyrrole Orange. It's not quite Pyrrole Scarlet. And I'm going to take just a touch of that Pyrrole. This was the Pyrrole Orange. I'm just going to mix it right here on the, a little bit of this Pyrrole Scarlet. Bring those together. And then we'll come back and check. And it's still, this is like really vibrant. This is a little bit more muted. So I think this is my buff titanium. Yeah, even that's not going to get me where I want. Where is my, it's raw sienna? I want burnt sienna. Let's start that again. I'm grabbing my burnt sienna. So you see, because I don't have an exact match for that, and it doesn't matter. I've said this many times. I'm going to go for photo similar, not photorealistic. It doesn't matter to me if it's not the perfect orange, or yeah, there we go. So see, I'm thinking maybe some of that burnt sienna with the Pyrrole Orange. That's getting me quite a bit closer. So that's what we're going to go with. And then for that yellow, I'm looking at the yellow ochre. Just pop that down here and see that yellow ochre is not quite bright enough. Grab just a touch of my titanium white, bring that in. A little bit more yellow ochre. And it's still not quite bright enough. Let's grab a touch of the Hansa Yellow Deep. This little blob right here. There we go. One of my favorite things is mixing color. And of course, if you watch the Monday Mix here, every Monday on YouTube, we do that. Look at, there we go. That's what we're going to do. So that is yellow ochre, touch of titanium white, and Hansa Yellow Deep. Got me there. So you see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily just 5 colors. So there we go. Let's see. If you have a question, if you type Q : or type out question. Usually if you type out the word question, it'll show up like with bright yellow on my side, so I won't miss anything. Oh, the jelly type. It's just another type of gouache. It's just gouache that comes in jelly cups. They come in cups. They call it jelly type. It can dry out just like any of your tube gouaches can, but instead of putting it in a tube, it comes in a plastic cup. So, and usually that's like student grade gouache. So there you go. I hope that helps. I hope that answers that question. Okay. Boo Peep says, I love swatching. I'd be happy being a professional swatcher. Speaking of swatching, I was going to ask you all today. So now I'm working on this one now. And again, I'm coming back to that burnt sienna, but I see burnt sienna on its own. That is going to be, again, too dark. So I'm going to grab a touch of the titanium white again. Oh, and that's almost right there. I think that would be like the burnt sienna and the titanium white. If I needed to bring in just a touch of that pearl orange, but I don't even think so. So there we go. I don't mind swatching at all. Swatching can be very relaxing to me. So this, look, I did that in a wet wash so you could see that Cascade green. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but there's this like granulation that happens. And when it settles out, you have this green and then you have this like really blue color. It's not exactly what I would choose for this green, but because that green is coming into play here where we're actually painting water, I'm just going to go with it. And it's going to be fine. I'm not even worried about that. And again, it's gouache, so I can come back and paint over and get that darker. Now, this definitely will reactivate. Gouache reactivates. And then our last one, I'm going to take our burnt umber. There's our burnt umber. And that on its own is definitely not dark enough. So I'm going to take the burnt umber and we have our lamp black here. And those together are definitely, right? That's what we're seeing here. When I look at this color, where I'm seeing that being used is here. We got here in kind of in the background. Our reeds in the front are that really deep, dark, umbery color. In fact, our darkest darks are these right here in the front because they have to show up in front of everything else. But when I look at this picture, I almost lose the reeds through this section. So that background here is almost that same value. And then as we come over here where the sun is, See how some of those turn? It's actually more like this right here with maybe a touch of that umber mixed in. So we're going to be working with those kind of colors today. I think, like I said, I have my Daniel Smith watercolors here, and I'm thinking, because I went Hansa Yellow Deep for this yellow, we're going to try, I'm going to swatch some new gamboge. Right, so new gamboge, which is that right there, as far as the watercolor goes, because I want to start this painting. To start off, we are going to put down some of our lightest values with watercolor. And we'll let that dry, and we're going to end up painting on top of it with our gouache. Hopefully this one's going to paint up rather quickly. And if it should paint up quickly and we get done early, all my goodies have come in that I ordered on Prime Day. So I can share those. Maybe I can share those with you guys if we have time. If not, I will share them with you another time. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, our new gamboge. See how nice and bright that's going to be? There are other colors I could have chosen, but I think that goes pretty well with this. So we're going to do that. All right, setting that aside. Now this is a time where I would take these colors and like set them. I have one of my medium palettes over here. And I did grab the gouache in case I wanted to put it out, because I had no idea how this was going to reactivate and work for me. And I thought, well, if I need to, I could just put it in one of my medium palettes. But you're going to see me mixing on the ceramic palette. So now we know the colors I will be using. And if you are painting along, I'm just going to pop my new gamboge right out of my Daniel Smith palette, and they happen to fit perfectly. Look at that. These on the side here, on both sides, not these ones on this long end. They're just too small for those, but they fit perfectly on the ends. I love using this palette just to pop out like my little half pans and stick them in there. So you could put like 8 colors that you're working with. All right, and again, this is by Meeden, and there is a discount coupon code in the description. If you're shopping from Meeden, it would be code Clark10, so capital CLARK10, and that will get you a discount if you shop directly from Meeden. Okay, so yeah, I have my Daniel Smith watercolors, but I think that is, at least those are some of them. We're just going to start with the new gamboge. So let's lay out our scene. I'm using my Princeton Velvet Touch brushes today. I have my size 10 round. You'll probably see me grab something much bigger just to get this paper wet with. But for our scene, hi Heather. Hello Dawn. Let's see. I need myself a pencil. All right. So we have, just looking at this card here, I'm just going to do a quick sketch. So about a third of the way up. Right, I'm just going to put a line across. I'm not worried about these pencil marks. I'm going to be working with gouache. And then just up from that, we have another. I'm doing where the wave is. And then at about 2/3 of the way up, or just over halfway. I think we're going to have that's where our kind of our horizon line is back there. As far as this goes, you know, what's in the background, I know that about here, right, we have this, our sun's going to come into play there, comes over, and right about almost halfway, the tree line kind of steps up, and we don't have to worry about painting trees. If trees aren't your thing, don't worry, it's fine, it's okay. No stressing on this one. We're just doing some wonky shapes. And so then I have my sun is actually kind of tucked into a cloud right about here. Right? There's my sun shape. And that yellow kind of goes off like that. And I have some brighter yellow up there. All right. As far as my reeds go, I'm going to have one. I want to make sure I get this one. The rest I'm not too worried about. Right? But I'm going to have one that's going to come up like this, way up here. And it goes this way, feathers in like that. That's all I need. I'm going to have a few up this way that are going to come up, boom, boom, and they pass the height of this point. So there's 3 of those. There's my first one. There's 3. Again, photo similar. It doesn't have to be photorealistic. I am just catching a couple of the grass comes up, falls over. And then about here, these start to travel right up and even go off the page, right? Because these are really big in the foreground. That's all I need. That's all I need to guide myself. So no outline, no line work for working on this one. I think that's pretty easy to kind of get it set up yourself. Okay. Thank you, Heather. Absolutely. If you guys are like excited about this one, smash that like button. Okay. Are you ready? We're going to, and Joseph, just for you, I made sure that I grabbed my little brushes today. So I have my 10 round, I have my size 8 round. And those of you who just aren't aware, I'm teasing Joseph because Joseph was doing something with, oh my gosh, wasn't it a 2? That was this. That's this. So he was painting something with that, like this on Monday when he was doing his World Watercolor Month, which is amazing. I absolutely love it. I didn't get to do World Watercolor Month. July has gone crazy and I just never got to even catch up or get there. So yeah, Joseph was working with, I was like, what size is that? That's like a 4 at the most. And he said it was a 2. So for those of you who were watching Joseph's stream on Monday, there's the perspective. There's a 2. Here's my 8 round, my 10 round. That's what I'll be using today. And when I need a small brush, you're probably going to see me grab either the 4 round at the most, but quite possibly, where'd you go? I may grab like my size 6. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, when we do the finer details for these grasses. Aside from that, we want a nice big brush. We want to get this paper nice and wet. And I'm just grabbing my 3/4 wash. Just because it's the, well, I could reach for a quill, but just use our Velvet Touch brushes today. And I'm just going to wet this. I don't necessarily have to wet like the entire thing because that bright yellow is going to be focused right here. That's where I'm going to get some of that yellow watercolor in. Okay, and I definitely need to come all the way to the bottom of my page. I am using the Meeden 100% cotton watercolor block today. That's what I'm painting with for those of you that's just joining us or who don't know. That is one of my favorite papers. Heather says, I like big brushes and I cannot lie. Oh. All right. So, especially up here where I made my marks. Now, where my actual sun is, I'm going to kind of avoid that area. I'm not going to put my paint there necessarily. Now, this one does actually have a pretty defined line. So, if I needed to, you guys can see that. There's actually a pretty well-defined line around that sun. And so if I needed to, I could absolutely come back with the white gouache and mark that out. So there's that. I don't have to worry too much about it. And see, this brush, I'm not going to try to get that in there. So I'm going to switch to my tiny little 10 round brush. Again, I'm being sarcastic, guys, but I'm going to switch to my 10 round. I'm just teasing Joseph. Okay, plenty of color on there, and we are going to start down here, and we're going to just lay some of this in, and we're going to let it be as bold as it wants to be. And it can spread and do its thing. That's fine. Already this is like feeling dry. I'm just going to give my paper a mist. It's like sucking that water right in. So definitely I want those yellows going straight up towards where my sun is. This is my lightest area in my painting. This little column right here. Right, so I've kind of gone around where I put that mark. There we go. It's really all I need as far as the watercolor goes. I think we can do most of this in the gouache. I could do this whole scene in watercolor. So let me just put that out there too. We could paint all of this in just watercolor. We don't have to do this in gouache. And so if you don't have gouache and you want to paint along, and let's say you don't have the color cubes and you want to paint along, I do have this reference photo linked in the description below because this is a royalty-free image that you can get from Pixabay. So, all right, I'm just going to smooth that aside to get it kind of out of my way. So yeah, you can get that on Pixabay, and you can certainly paint along in just watercolor if that's what you have. You would be painting it much the same way, only when I paint over mine, the color should be darker, so it should show up over top. It's just that watercolor is going to be more transparent and the gouache is going to be more opaque. So when I put those reeds in front, they're really going to stay on top of the rest of the watercolor. All right, so next up, let's grab some of our orange. Now I said, all right, I'm going to want this one, which I said we did burnt sienna. Hopefully I remember what I used to make them with. So our burnt sienna, and I put a little bit of titanium white in that. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to start down here. I could put in, see here, I could put in my darks first. I'm not worried about if that spreads up because, right, like this can spread as much as it wants to. We're painting with gouache. We're going to be able to come back over. I'm going to try to leave that center column. And right now I'm painting with this. It's a bit thinner. Right, so this gouache is a bit thinned down, kind of like watercolor. But I certainly can come back and have it much thicker. I need some of the Pyro Orange. We're going to bring that right into this mixture. This I can put right up, yeah, right up here. Why not? We're going to come right through. There's our sky. You see, it'll mix with some of that yellow. I definitely don't mind that. So I got my Pyro Orange. Grab some more of this burnt sienna. There we go. Now, I want to make sure that I maintain a little bit of that light spot here. And as we come through here, again, I don't need to be exact. Where my cloud comes out. Remember, photosimilar, not photorealistic. It doesn't matter if my sky doesn't match up with the card perfectly. It's okay. We're certainly not gonna fret about it. And it's gouache, so I can let it dry and come back on top. With another layer. But just remember, when you do that with gouache, as you come back, the more brush strokes you bring onto that paper, the more you're going to activate the layer below. And I need that to get a little bit lighter in value. So we're going to bring in some of that Hansa Yellow Deep. Yes, right there. Kind of mixing those two together. And again, I'm going to remember that I want to leave just kind of like a cloud up there. So I'm going to bring that right over into that. And I'm not going to fuss too much because this is the background, right? I mean, yeah, the sky is a very important part of this painting, but it's still the background. We're going to paint stuff over in front of this. So don't stress too much about it. This part is actually a little too light. Pull that brighter orange right over. There we go. See how we're keeping our sun, that white spot there, nice and bright. It's definitely going to look very lit. And what I'm seeing in this picture is actually a bit lighter yellow. I'm bringing a little bit of Hansa Yellow Light, which is kind of closer to the yellow that we used when we did our new gamboge down here. And we're just going to pull some of that through. I encroached on my sun, on my circle. Just going to lift it. There we go. I just want to get this a little bit brighter yellow. When you're seeing me touch my paper towel like that, it's because I've lifted some of that orange. And so I'm just wiping that off here because I want to get my yellow and bring just yellow back into this. So that's when you're seeing me wipe like that. That's why I am doing that. Right? Because I wanted to pull some of that orange away. Look at that. There we go. And I do have a little bit that has encroached on my sunshine here, so just dabbing that brush off. I'm just going to wet this space, press and lift, and there we go. Good enough. All right, I think that's fine. I'm not going to mess with it. Looking at our reference card, looking at that, I think we are close enough. It has a little bit of orange, like this is broken up a little bit, like it kind of tucks through there a little bit like that. And there you go. Let's just leave it be. Okay, so leaving that alone, we're going to work our way down. I'm not going to come in with the dark yet. We'll do that in a moment. I am going to take some of this and put it, I got my land, and then I have some land reflecting, but I have some of this coming through here. I'm not worried. I'm going to maintain some of this brighter yellow space. But I'm not worried about where I need my reflection to be darker. I can certainly come back on top of this and get that back. It's warming that area up that I had already painted. It's more of like a salmon-like color, so I'm going to leave that be. Right here is where I had, it's like the darker, almost green values, where it's like a wave coming in. That's what it looks like to me. It may not be an actual wave, but it's what it feels like. My paper has definitely buckled from some of this water. Not too concerned. As long as I leave it on here to dry, it will dry really flat. You see, this is the one that we did last week. Like, I threw a lot of water at this last week, and you can tell that right there is where it was not glued down, because you still see a little bit of that buckle. But everywhere else, it dries super flat, and I could flatten that back out if I wanted to. So it would be possible. Okay, and then we're going to have a lot more oranges and a lot more of the green through this area. So I'm going to put some of this that through. I'm leaving space because we have our greens in there. Best way to flatten the paper back out. So if I wanted that, to be flat, and I'll show you in a moment. Please remind me, Dolphin Soul, if I don't come back to that, please remind me to come back to it, because I can certainly flatten that. I can get that to flatten back out, and I'll show you exactly how I would do it. I just want to get the oranges in while this is still damp, and then I need to let it dry. So it's a perfect time for me to show you how I would do it. Again, I want to maintain like that corridor here. And I am thinning this gouache down, which is kind of using it more like watercolor, but this is the first layers. It's perfectly fine to do that. You would want to work thicker as you go. I'll bring that right down to the bottom. And I need to get that up a little further. This needs a little bit more yellow. See how dark? This needs to be more like this. So just going to pull some of that brighter yellow down. It does get lighter as it comes further towards, closer towards me. So just thinning that out a little bit more. Good enough. All right, we're gonna let this dry. This is a hot mess. This is a hot mess, but it's quickly going to transform as we go here. So yes. All right. Yeah, so Heather said something about, I put them under something heavy. Yeah, so what I would do is, so you see how that has that little buckle? If I wanted to take this buckle out, I'm going to take some water like this, and I'm going to do it. You guys can see me up here. I'm going to mist the back with the water. By misting the back with the water, you're going to see it's already starting to pull some of that buckle out. It's already starting to happen. That's starting to flatten out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to be very careful. I want to protect my, I want to protect my painting. So I don't want to put that in anything. But then I would take and put it with something very heavy on top of this to weigh that down until it completely dries. And you can put a piece of glassine over this if you wanted to. You could sandwich it between a piece of glassine or whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't. I just put it under something, weigh it down, let that water kind of soak into the paper, and already you can see like it's already about pulled it out. So if I put something heavy on this now, and then when I take that out, it's going to be like this. It's going to pull it super flat. For the purposes of here in the studio, I'm not going to worry about that right now. You see how it's like wanting to be warped because I spritzed it with the water. So yeah, if I now put something heavy on top of this, it's going to be perfectly fine. Actually, I will set it. I happen to have something heavy here, so I'm going to set it down over here. And if you remind me, we'll check back in on that later on, and I will show you. Because you see this one on this block right here where it's not glued? See how it's puckered up? It's just because it wasn't glued down there. So occasionally you'll have that happen, and it's fine. It's nothing, certainly nothing to stress over. Okay. Now we've got some of our orange stuff in here. I'm going to just kind of clear this space off. You don't have to. You leave it. It's perfectly fine. I'm going to clean this off. And let's paint in our trees and stuff in the background. So I said I was going to do... yeah, just spray the back. Just a fine mist. You see, I didn't put a ton of water on the back. Just a little bit of mist on there. It's just enough that that wetness will soak into the paper. And that's another way that you can, like if you didn't tape your paper down, wet the back of your paper. And then like I work on a silicone mat. So if I wet the back of my paper, put it on the silicone mat, and then wet the front of my paper, it's not going to buckle. The reason our paper buckles is because we've put water on this, and now the fibers in that paper can like expand with the water. If we put it on both sides, then it expands evenly and it stays pretty flat. If we just put the water on the one side of the paper, it buckles and warps because the other side is dry. It hasn't wet all the way through. Y'all didn't know it was going to be science class today. Okay. All right, so I got my raw umber and my black kind of mixed together to make this really nice, deep chocolatey brown. We're going to paint in our tree line back there. So I had my horizon kind of marked in right here, and it's going to be, my horizon is along here. I'm not worried. There's actually a lighter line along the shoreline, so I'm not worried. Like I'm not trying to touch the orange completely. I'm just putting in a straight line across my page. All right. Really simple. Let's not overthink this. If we're going to make trees, it's like this. We're just kind of painting a line that's like not smooth. It doesn't have to be exact to the painting. Now, if there was something like, say I was painting, I mean, obviously this is a specific location. I don't know what this location is. And that's fine. I'm going to leave this because we're going to come back to that in a moment. if I was painting something where it was a specific, if I was from this location and I looked at that tree line or I looked at that mountain shape, I know exactly where I am. That I might try to be close. But here, I'm not worried about this. It's just a tree line. Let's just let it be an uneven line, right? And about the halfway point is where I said it jumps up. And it like all of a sudden really jumps up. Like, hello, I got bigger trees over here. They're probably closer to me. Right? And again, not worried about these trees. It's already trying to dry out my palette. Am I going to be able to mix up this same color? Maybe. If I can't, not worried about it. Add that umber. The lamp black. Chocolatey brownish color. That's all I need to worry about. And I'm going to come back and darken some of this up. Again, here I need to get this more reddish color. So I'm gonna kind of go around that little space, pick it back up on this other side. And we're just filling in the space here. I'm seeing your comment about these are your kind of trees. I thought you guys might like that. Like, you don't have to worry about these happy little, these are definitely your happy little trees. You just need to break the tree line. It's tree line, sky, the horizon. I don't know. You just need some bumps. The brain will look at it and go, hey, there's trees back there. What do you know? That's all you need to worry about. Right? Just different shapes. It could be trees. There we go. We just fill that in now. And if some of my original ones are like showing, and I'll get you closer to that, I'm not worried about that, because if I actually look at the reference photo, I kind of see some of that happening naturally in the photograph, right? In the reference, it's there. So look at that. Now look how bright that orange is. So like right here, that's a little bit of a lighter one right there. There's some more happening over here. We actually see that when we look up close at the reference photo. So don't worry about that. And now I need some red in here, and I'm just going to grab, you know what? Maybe a little bit redder. Let me get some Pyrrole Scarlet in here. There we go. So I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to let it kind of mingle with my darker color here that was from my trees. Right? Because this is that super washed out, the exposure's all a mess from the sun. Just going to dab that in there and let it be just like that. Okay. And I might need to touch that up, but that's okay. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, Joseph, she does relate her trees, speaking of Tara, to what is it you said? Candy floss on sticks. So, for those of us here in the US, cotton candy, right? Cotton candy on a stick. Trees are definitely Tara's nemesis. All right, I'm gonna leave that. It's kind of doing this thing because it has a lot of water there, and but you know what? It's fine. I'm actually liking it. It's gonna look like the sun just pushing out that, blowing out that color there, and I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, so our reflection is actually, we're not gonna go here. We're gonna grab some of this Cascade green. I'm gonna pop this here. And near the reflection though, I'm going to mix with that Cascade green a little bit of this. Look at it bully. Look at it bully that. Push that right away. Alright, I'm still gonna bring a little bit more in. Obviously, we'll just mix it up here. We're just gonna mix it up here now. We'll leave that for something else. And then this greenish value. Okay, so I need to kind of repeat what I'm seeing above down here. And guess what, guys? You don't have to worry about this being perfect. You see how I did the loop around? That was to remind myself that just like we have here, there's its reflection happening down here. So when we get to this point, we're going to come around that. And then back up the other side. And again, there can be a little bit of that line there. We can let that be. It's actually more of a reddish color, but we can lay that in after. And you don't really see a big bump up on the reference photo. We just kind of see it keep going along. We do lose that separation. Kind of have my brush at like a 45-degree angle to my paper. So if there's some skipping around, I'm fine with that, right? It is okay. All right. Dolphin Soul says, pop that up. These colors are gorgeous, but I'm having such a Halloween vibes to create, right? Like this is definitely, I can see where you would get the Halloween feel from these colors for sure. Okay. Now we're going to desaturate this a little bit. We're going to take a little bit of that. I want more of that umbery green. Tap some of that off. Give it just a little tap. Because up here, and I need to turn my paper, so sorry if that bothers you guys, but I need to turn my paper for a little bit. Just because up around here, I'm going to have some lines that come through. Yeah, I just want it to feel like some of that water. This may be darker than what our reference photo actually is, but it's fine. I'm just thinking this is water. Right? So ripples on the water. Still working those same colors. And now that I have very little on my brush, I can come back through, put some of this through that brighter yellow area. When I get here, it gets much darker again. Still just using up whatever's left in my brush. There we go. There we go. And I can pull some of that back if it's a little too dark there. All right, next we need, next section down, right through here, we have that darker mark coming into this. Let's come into this green, which I really think looks much better, kind of desaturated with that umber. We're going to have through about here. And it picks up about here. Pull that across. Starting to look like water. Bringing in a little bit more of that raw umber just to kind of desaturate that green. I'm liking that value a lot better as I look at the reference photo. So that cascade green with the raw umber. This gets very dark as it comes through here. Right? We can kind of see through the reeds. We're seeing a really dark line there. And then it gets lighter. Tap some of that out, grab a little bit more green. Touch, bit more water. And I'm just thinking of this, it's water. So I'm just going to let my brush, just the tip of my brush, kind of dance and bounce along the page and kind of move it back and forth. Right? And it'll just give me some ripples. We're going to put a lot of reeds over here, so you're not going to see that as much. So don't overly stress about this part. I'm just going to pull some lines through here. It's a little light. Just darken that up in places. Again, we're going to have reeds coming up through this area, so we don't want to stress about it. Hi, George. We're glad that you did. pulling a little bit more of that Cascade Green up into my Cascade Green and Umber mixture. So again here, this is where we have that, like, that next section of waves, and this, as it comes over, it gets just broken up, right? Like it's like speckled in through there, like so. We have to come back with some orange values in through here. Some orange values, some orange color. All right, so now we just take that tip, and see, so far I've done most of this in just our size 10 round brush. This Velvet Touch holds such a nice point that it's very easy to work with the big brush for areas where you need the bigger strokes, and then just work with that point when you don't need such big brush strokes. All right, and we definitely have another thicker area here. Just think of waves rolling in. And again, it's a little darker. Look at that. I hope you guys are enjoying this one. If you are, please do hit that like button. It definitely helps. Now, we are going to have a lot of, through here, there's just a lot of dots and dabbing, and don't overthink this part. These are our ripples in the water. This kind of does, it doesn't go green all the way through here. In fact, that gets a little lighter, so I'm just going to go ahead and lift that off there. Same thing here. If I come through, I can put these down, but if I quickly come back and dab, it'll lift that out and maintain the brightness that's happening here in the reflection. I am not looking at my reference photo now. Now I just know that this is supposed to be water. So if I just hold my brush at about a 45-degree angle and I let that point just sort of skip around, I'm going to get what's going to look like some wave texture. And I have to do this all the way down so that I can paint the reeds in front of it. Oh, thanks for hanging out with us, Tara. Tara and Joseph are moderators here on the channel. Huge thank you to them, especially Tara, who is 5 hours ahead of us here on East Coast time, for staying up late and hanging out in the chat. I greatly appreciate you doing that. If you haven't checked out their channels yet, they are linked in the description below. I do hope when you have time that you will check them out. I like that. I'm going to bring some of that darker value back here, even if I kind of go over areas. Not worried about it. This becomes hard when you overthink it, for sure. Like, oh, I can't paint water. Like, for the longest time, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't paint water. I can't get the ripples in the water. And I still don't think I've, by any means, mastered the art of doing so. But the less I worry about it, I find the better I feel it looks. So I encourage you just to have a play And you definitely have to like take a step back and look. Because when you're in the moment and painting it, it's definitely more, it's not going to look right, and you think, oh, I don't know about that, and then you back up or you come back later with fresh eyes and you think, oh, you know what, actually that's not so bad. At least that's how I usually end up feeling. I never would have thought to paint green on this water like this. And this is definitely, that's the color. It is green. It was green on the card, on the color cube. So without this card, yeah, that green, that's the only place it is in the water. And that definitely would not have been what I would have thought to. My brain would have taken over and said, water's not green. You don't want that color. So these, I'm finding these very handy, and look at how we're coming along so far. We've got to put a little bit more red in here, or the orange, to match what we have in our sky. That's going to be next, and then we're going to paint our reeds, and then this one is going to be done. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. And if you're painting along, definitely let me know. Drop me a comment. Share it on social media and tag me. I will certainly be tagging Sarah Renee Clark when I post mine, because yeah, I'm loving the color cubes. And some of these were their royalty. Like I said, I searched for this one on Pixabay so that I knew that it was in fact a royalty-free image, and I could share it with all of you who wanted to paint along as well. Look at that. We're about to paint reeds over this, so a lot of this is just going to, like, we'll get so worked up over, oh, it has to be just right, and worrying about getting this phase perfect. We're going to paint over the top of it. We're going to paint stuff that comes right through the center of this, which is going to take our focus away from what's right here. This is what's happening through those reeds. So it's not as important as we think it is. I find I have to remind myself that a lot. I don't know if that happens to you guys as well, but it does happen to me. So if it happens to you too, just know you're not alone. It's perfectly normal. All right. Let's get some of those redder values in here, and then we will paint our reeds. Dolphin Soul says, yeah, agree about the green, but it does look amazing. I definitely wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, I need to put green in this. I would not even thought about that being a green. Taking the red that I mixed for up here, and I'm loving the way that with the water that kind of diffused itself out. And we are going to put, see how that's, my brush is feeling a little dry there. All right, I'm gonna start down here because I know I'll be putting some of those reeds. Yeah, that's fine. That'll work. That'll work. It'll be fine. It's a little brighter than I want. It's just a little brighter than I want. Let's knock that down just a tiny bit. I'm just going to play around with the color for a moment. I want it to be like a reddish value, but I also want to desaturate just a little bit. See, and that's more our color here. That's better. Yeah, that's better. I'm going to bring some of that through all over. Oh, and while I have it on my brush, I'm going to see if once I brush over a couple times, I'm going to have lifted some of that green. There we go. And definitely through this area here, it's very much orange. You see, I still left some of the light showing through. And I'm going to bring my orange right out to the edges. There we go. There we go. I hope some of you are going to give this one a try. It's definitely one you just don't want to overthink the process. And I'm going to glaze this almost right over top of that green. Again, I'm not going to do too many brush strokes because I'll reactivate the green. But as I looked up on the monitor, I thought, you know, that needs to be a bit darker. So by glazing, it's just very thinned down gouache. Here we go. Right, some of the areas a little bit too light, and we want that light area right here. There. Okay, so we have kind of our sunset on our water. Here we go. So, okay, great question. While I let this dry for a moment, because we're going to paint our reeds in here in a second, we had let me see. I think Lindsay said all but four were royalty-free images. Yeah, I would assume so too. Cadmium Red Feral Kitten, that they would be. But see, here's where it gets tricky. Here's where that slippery slope comes in. For me as a content creator, I've purchased the color cubes, right? Well, actually, I didn't purchase them. They were a very generous gift. But having the color cubes for myself, I can use and create any of these things for myself. Look at how well, look at that. It's looking so good. I'm loving the way this looks. I'm seeing, as I look there, I'm like, oh, we probably should get even a little bit more orange through here. And maybe I will go ahead and do that. But regardless, for me personally to use them, and for you, if you have the color cubes, you can create your artwork from them. Now, if they're royalty-free images, you can create and sell that artwork. If it's something that's not a royalty-free image, then you have to have that permission if you were going to create something from it and sell it. So the same goes for me creating here on YouTube. If I'm going to create and say, here is the reference photo, if you guys want to paint along with me, I have to make sure that I have the right to do that with that image. So knowing that this was on Pixabay, I actually have the link to the original photographer and the image on Pixabay. Anybody can paint along with me with this, but yes, I pulled it from card 075 from the color cube, but then went and found it on there. So I'm not sure. I need to email Sarah. I've been so busy this week with my schedule changed. I haven't had a chance to do that, but I need to email her and ask, because I'm sure that they will get back to me and tell me, yes, you can, or no, you shouldn't, or, whatever the case may be. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit more red in here, and a little bit through here. And I've just grabbed the red that I had up there, watered it down a little bit because I wanted to kind of glaze this over. Now, if I worked with my gouache thicker, then it would be, it'd be much more opaque. I'm really painting with it more. You could say I'm painting with it more like as if it were watercolor. So like I said in the beginning, you could absolutely just paint this with watercolor. It'd be perfectly fine. But I have used those opaque watercolors, and you're going to see in a moment. There we go. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, and so the other question that we had was from Dolphin Soul. With gouache, do you think the colors are true to what they will dry, or still expect to be lighter like other watercolors? So great question. Gouache is different. Watercolor, the drying shift, your colors tend to get lighter. With gouache, your drying shift, your colors could get darker. So I definitely say swatch your gouache, know what it's going to look like once it is dry. But let me just share, back when I did the original, back when I first shared these, and I don't know, I will try to remember, if you're watching this on the replay, and try to pop a link up here from when I did this Daniel Smith gouache palette. These are the same color in gouache and in Daniel Smith watercolors. So the stripe on the left was the gouache. The stripe on the right was the watercolor. And these were like same pigment, same colors across the way. And you can see like these two were already more opaque in the watercolor, but much more opaque in the gouache. This is like our burnt sienna. We can see that line coming through, but again, I'd have to build up the mass tone with the Daniel Smith gouache. I have to kind of build up that mass tone, but it can be, like you see here with the umber, it can be very opaque, but the colors, when they finish, are quite similar. This being the ultramarine, my gouache actually looked lighter. You just have to swatch it. Any gouache that I'd be using, I would definitely be swatching to find out, like, how's it gonna dry? How's it gonna look? Okay. I'm gonna clean off a spot here. Actually, I don't even really need to clean that spot because I can just use that right in with it. It's not gonna matter. We need to get our umber. And I just need to make sure my chat, I just noticed my chat is not scrolling. Okay. So we've got the umber, just like we did for back here. And what did I say this was? It's lamp black. It is PBK 6. So lamp black and the umber. And that, I can actually pull in some of this green. Doesn't matter. There we go. That's what I'm going to use to paint my reeds. And then I still have some of this red over here. Because, remember when I get on a couple that are this way, they're going to look red. So now I'm going to switch. We're not going to use our 10 round for this part. Although, you know, we probably could if we wanted to, but no. All right. I'm going to grab my size 6 round. We'll go with that. That usually tends to be what I go when I want a small brush. Joseph would be like, that's a big brush. Okay, so we had our reed that comes up like this. It comes all the way up pretty much to the base of where our sun is at. So up here, we have this like, that's just like spilling up into the red. It's being quite the bully and pushing that. So up here, there's this like feathery, and it comes down. Down, 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 and off the page. As it comes down, it gets dark though, right? So as it comes down, and we'll see. This paper still feels like it might be a little damp. If I see any lines starting to bleed out, then of course I'll change that. But and actually, I think we're gonna try. This is a size 2 script liner, and I don't know. I'm not sure. This is for the first time I've used this one. It is a Velvet Touch script liner. Because we want some, like over here, okay, we have some that kind of just pop up. There's one. And again, I am not worried about getting every single one correct. I'm not going for photorealistic, just photo similar. I'm liking this brush so far. I'd like one that was a little thicker, but it's fine. Okay, so through here we had 3 that came up, like 1, 2. Didn't quite have enough on my brush there. Let's see if I can pull this off. See if I can follow that line again. That's fine. Another one. Want lots of paint on this one because I have to go all the way up, and then it goes, oh, turns left. And again, doesn't have to be exact to what's on the reference photo. I'm going to come back and do the feathery parts after. Then when we get about here, we actually have some that go clean off the page. It's like I cannot hold enough. See, that's the thing, like these small brushes, that's why I said if I had a larger one, that would be better. I might switch to the long round because I need it to hold enough paint to get me up off this page, and this just can't do it. So I'm switching to my size 8 long round. This guy. I'm going to load it right up with paint here. Now let's see. Much better. That one got a little thick, but not worried about it. There were lots of smaller ones. Now the smaller ones I could catch with this. Just double check chat. Oh, thanks for coming by, Heather Bryant. Because we have some smaller. I'm not liking that this brush just doesn't want to hold enough paint for me. Like I can't flick it quickly. I have to go slow, and that's not what I want to do. I want to get more very organic feeling marks. Well, it's just a matter of, it doesn't necessarily, George, doesn't necessarily have to be steady. It's light pressure, and I find it easy because it's like once you have that tension against the page, it's just dragging, right? And they can get wonky. Grass does. Yeah, so Michelle says the dark grass pulls the whole painting together. Does it? That's why I said we wouldn't fuss too much or let ourselves worry too much about what we were seeing, because as soon as we start to put the grasses in, it pushes all of that so far backwards, and we don't really have to worry about it. There weren't as many grasses this way. They definitely start to get thicker as it comes this way. And it's just a matter of reminding myself I have to go different directions. Don't make them all the same. And we're also going to need to put some of the feathery bits on these. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay. So I still have my 8 long round. And so for those, like up here, they're just these like little wispy, pull it right into that stalk. That's it. Just pull down towards that center line. And there's going to be a few. Okay, this one is solid. It's supposed to be anyway. Again, not that it matters. Definitely. Definitely the hand-eye coordination absolutely gets better with practice. Nessa, I would suggest, like, I would recommend just sit down to create with zero expectations. Like, I have zero expectations today other than I am going to get some paint on some paper. And however that paint lands on that paper, it's okay. I'm just going to get some paint on paper, right? Like, that's my only goal. Maybe I want some very rudimentary shapes. Trees don't have to be perfect, right? Like, give yourself the grace that it's okay for it not to look perfect. And the more I think that you do, the more I think you'll retrain having like just vision on one side to be able to get that hand-eye coordination back. And I think a little bit at a time, it's going to happen. I definitely believe that you can get that back. And you have to also give yourself the grace to that it's okay if your art now would look much different than say what you would create before you had a vision issue. So again, I'm just picking a few spots here and there where I'm putting like those feathery ends on that tall grass. I'm really liking how this one's coming out. I hope you guys are going to give this a try and paint this one. Again, just remind yourself, photo similar, not photorealistic. You don't have to get every single thing perfect. And don't spend too much time fussing over what is this background going to look like. Because see, even down here, like on this edge, once I pop that in a frame, it's going to cut. And it doesn't matter if they didn't touch the bottom edge of the paper perfectly. That's what we're going to see, and it's okay. There. I'm just trying to decide like how many more little feathery bits do we need? How much more grass do we need? I think it's certainly something we can get carried away with, but I don't think we can go wrong with this one. And I didn't like how I just made a mark there. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to put another piece of grass that pulls right through. And now that just disappeared like it never happened. And it looks fine. I'm really loving the color palette. Like the overall feel of this piece, like the color cubes are such a great tool. I honestly, in the beginning, I was like, am I actually going to be able to use these? Like, would I use these in the way, or would I be able to find a way to use these for how I create? And I just have to say, yes, absolutely. Now, see, I don't have as many reeds here. I could spend a lot more time getting a lot more grass on this side. Just keep pulling those pieces through. And the more that you do, I'm going to use my regular, you're going to see me grab my regular size 6 round for a moment, just because I don't want to mess up the point on my nice long round here. I'm just going to mix up some more color so that I will be able to pull a few more pieces of grass through that right side. There we go. And again, when you pull through, don't, like, I'm seeing like some even spacing here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to mess that up, right? Because our brains will do that to us. They'll be like, form patterns and evenly space things out. And you'll be like, no, 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 nature isn't like that. Nature doesn't do that. I lost where I just drew that piece. I was going to put feathers, the feathery parts of the grass on the end of it. And I lost where it was. There we go. So see, already that's a lot thicker, kind of like what we have here. Now there's more that comes up higher in this painting. And again, you know, we can do that. We can get some of those, pull some of those up. Let's feather that one in. There. But I think that's good. I think I like that. I'm going to sign over here because I have more space. And you could sign in gouache, but I think I'm just going to sign it with a... Is this the hard or the soft? That's going to be the soft. I prefer the hard one when I'm signing. That's the hard one. Okay. Right in the grasses there. And I can even, if I want to disguise that a little bit more, like, where did it go? All my brushes are kind of blending in with each other. There we go. And it just kind of blends right in there. So your signature doesn't really stand out. It's not drawing anybody's attention away from our actual painting. Okay. What do you guys think? What do you think of that one? So there is our gouache, mostly gouache. We did have a tiny bit of watercolor in the beginning. And there's our reference photo. I like it. I hope you do too. I hope you're going to give that one a try. And we still have some time. So if you guys want to see some of the new goodies that have come into the studio, I can share those with you. If there's any questions, drop them in the chat and I will make sure that I cover that. Okay. Oh, it does. The barcode. I was just seeing Dolphin Soul says, is it me or does the barcode on the paper block look like it's blooming reeds right here? Yep, they're just coming right out of the little barcode from our block there. Yeah, it's not just you. All right. Let me show you guys what has come. Oh, remember I said we would come back to our little, I'm like playing a fine game of art supply Jenga on my table here beside me. Remember our painting that we misted to see how it would dry? There you go. That buckle completely gone. So to answer your question, that is how I would flatten a piece of watercolor paper. So that worked out perfectly. And it's nice and dry now. Now I can set it right back up there to display. So that's how you do that. Oh, thank you, Jacqueline. And George. Don't they? They absolutely make it. That's why I was saying once, you know, you don't think about the reeds really make it like the painting as a whole. Where before is like when you worry, if you worried about like where all this little placement of these brush strokes as we were doing the green through here, it kind of breaks that up, doesn't it? And now you see it like overall as a whole. We're not actually paying attention to those little tiny marks that we were so worried about when we were painting them. Now when the viewer looks at it, you're seeing those reeds and then you're pulled into the painting and you're actually pulled more back here, and we really have that like funneled ourselves right there. Our reeds are pointing us, you know, pointing the way, and we're kind of bringing you right here. I hope you guys like that one. Oh, well, thank you. Woo Peep says, you made this look so much easier than I expected. It's beautiful. Well, I hope that you will give something like this a try, because it can look like we might have taken that and gone, oh no, I would never paint that. But break it down just into its simple look. We had a few lines. We had to make sure we had these lines in there. That's where we started. And then it was building up, right, with our watermarks. And these, don't be intimidated by those trees. If trees intimidate you, they're just some blobs that break that surface, break that straight line for your background. You can do it. All right, here is one of the things that I got. These were a special on Prime Day. I got the aqua boards. I'm really excited to try these. The back is like an MDF. And I have some that the back is actually a metal. So these were two. This is by Ampersand. The other ones are completely different. They were sent to me. It's got Stonehenge aqua cold press paper on it, on a piece of, bonded to a piece of metal. So those are things we're going to be giving a try. But these were 8x8 boards, so I went ahead and tried some of those. I also got another box. These are my 100% cotton watercolor cards that I like to paint on. I shared all of this over on Patreon. So if you are a channel member or a patron over there, I was sharing these deals as they were happening. I have another artist photo reference book. This one is the Reflections, Textures, and Backgrounds. I grabbed that, which I think pretty much completes my collection now. I got these little things, and these feel much thicker than I was expecting them. These are for when I go plein air painting. If I can get them out. And yeah, those are actually pretty thick. I was not expecting them to be as sturdy as they are. So when you go out and if you were trying to create a composition, right, and you're looking through that when you're plein air, would be how to set up your painting. So that's what these are for. And there's the different options that are available, and those are nice and thick. I'm very pleased for the price. I thought they were going to be really flimsy, so I almost didn't get them. I'm really glad that I did. This says, "Ooh, I want to try those boards." Yeah. So these were definitely recommended. Caution Artists at Play here on YouTube. Shanna Rowe Jackson is an art friend of mine, and she definitely had recommended trying these aqua boards by Ampersand. So I had to give those a try. I grabbed two new Velvet Touch brushes. These are the size 8 and size 6 petals brushes. I had the 10 and I wanted a smaller one, and these look like a triangular shaped wedge brush that has quite the point on it. If you see the point there. And so yeah, I got those in the next two sizes down. So now I have the 6, the 8, and the 10, which are the 3 sizes they offer in that brush. I also got, all right, no, I just lost at Art Supply Jenga and they fell over. So the little viewfinders, I will link them. Let me collect what I dropped. Okay, I know I dropped, yeah, I did drop something else because I haven't showed it to you yet. Oh my goodness. There it is. It was behind me. Okay, so I got them on Amazon. You're talking about these little viewfinders. Yeah, I got them on Amazon. I didn't link it in the description below, but I will. After the stream, I will go ahead and link those for you so that you will be able to find them. So if you give me a few minutes after the stream, I'll have them linked, and then you'd be able to take a look. So I got some new colors by Daniel Smith. Let me just kind of set that up there out of the way. So let me see. I added transparent red oxide, because even though I have so many PR 101s already, I had to see what this one looked like. So, you know, I got it. And I like PR 101. I use that a lot. And I've heard lots of really good things. People just keep raving about the transparent red oxide. So, yeah, I had to give that one a try. The Purpurite Genuine, I got that one. Will it focus for me there? Boom. I had to see it. It was a purple that it looked really pretty. So, you know. Then there is the Anthraquinoid Scarlet, because I don't have enough colors that leave me tongue-tied. I needed at least one more. So I got that one. And this is PR 168. It is light fast. One is excellent light fast. It's a series 3 paint. All of these are light fast 1, of course. So transparent red oxide, Purpurite Genuine, Anthraquinoid Scarlet, and then the Nickel Titanate Yellow, which is PY53, also says light fast of 1. I wanted to check out this yellow. So there's that. And let me see. I'm closing in on the 266 colors. I'm trying slowly but surely. And then I got 3 more colors in the watercolor sticks. One color I already have. You guys, if you've been following the channel for any length of time, you know it is the quinacridone burnt orange, my beloved PO48. I got it in the stick form as well. I already have it in tube form, and these are sticky. I think it's the humidity. I also got cobalt blue in the stick form, just because it was more cost effective than getting the cobalt blue in the tube. So I grabbed it by the stick. And then the other one I grabbed in stick was the quinacridone burnt scarlet. That one intrigued me, so I went ahead and grabbed one of those. And this is a PR206. I've seen PR206 before, but I wanted to see what Daniel Smith's version of what that PR206 looks like. And then the cobalt blue, I didn't tell you guys that one, but of course that's PB28. It is actually cobalt blue. So yeah, I had 3 more sticks, but only 2 new colors there. So 2 colors there, 4 colors here, 6 new colors to my Daniel Smith collection. And I don't even have them all in my palette right now because they don't fit. You see here, like I still have these sticks that I haven't even lopped off a piece and popped them in a pan because I don't have room to put a pan. And now I don't even have room to put extra sticks. So I am working on a solution though for my Daniel Smith collection, and I am going to share that. You guys have asked, so I am going to share that when I do finally get those all together. And then I got this. This was the other thing, and I got it for a reason, of course. This was the Derwent Graphite Extra Large Block, and this is the Onyx Dark. And the reason that I got this is because I got it so that I can make my own transfers. And I'll do a separate video on that, showing you exactly what I mean, how I do it. It's super easy. And there's a reason why I choose to do it this way, but all of that deserves its own video and not trying to squeeze it into a minute here. So there's that. Those are, I think, yeah, I think that's all the new. Oh, no, telling a fib. I also grabbed these by Kuretaka, the Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors, because I absolutely love, these are my favorite metallics. And these are the Calero. This is by Fine Tech. I have the Calero Gold and Silver. So basically the same colors that, oh, that one came off its thing. They're pretty much the same, I think, colors as we would have here. And I want to compare them and just see, because these are going to have the pans that are like the other Gonzai Tombi paints. And I think 1 or 2 of these I might have had in my 48 collection, but I didn't have all of them. And when they went on deal on Prime Day, I just went ahead and grabbed them. So yeah, they're the regular larger pans. And I like these pans because they're so much easier to get your brushes in. I love the Gonzai Tombi paints. I think they're like a perfect, they're like right in the middle of gouache and watercolor. So the way that I painted this today with the gouache, I could absolutely paint with the Gonzai Tombi paints like that. And yeah, I love them. So they are a personal favorite. So I got those so that we can compare. And of course, you know, I'll be comparing those in their own video, but that'll be coming. I use those a lot in wintertime when I start working on like cards and things, Christmas cards and things like that. So that's why I got those. Mix the Derwent graphite into vibrant watercolor paints to make beautiful, deep, granulating shadow colors. Oh, wouldn't that be so much fun to play with? Oh, we will definitely have to do that. Cadmium Red Feral Kitten was the one who suggested that. And yeah, we will definitely have to do that because I think that would just make some really cool, moody colors. It'd be so much fun to paint with. I am all about that. So yes, stay tuned. If you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and hit that thumbs up, turn on the notifications, do all of the things. Yeah, we will definitely have to do that. So I think that is everything that I grabbed on Prime Day. And next I have to focus on getting my Daniel Smith colors because I find that I'm not using them like I want to because the collection is like here, there, and everywhere. Like I have the colors. I'm trying to put the one that I took out back in its little spot. So I have like these ones, and then I have these ones, and then I have some that are in tubes that I haven't even got into pans yet, and then I have the 6 new colors. So there's a lot of colors. And oh, that brings me to I will of course swatch them, and I will do a whole video when I finally get the palette that I'm hoping I can get my hands on for my Daniel Smith collection. And you know, I'll share all of that with you, of course, when that happens. But the talking about swatching paints, let me know, and I'm gonna know that you hung out with me the whole time or watched all the way through on the replay. If we get here and you leave me a comment about this, let me know. I have the entire collection of Da Vinci colors. So Da Vinci, I had emailed Da Vinci a while back. Da Vinci got back to me, and I had told you guys before, like I was waiting for an email from them. Well, they did email me back, and I have been in contact with the company, and they actually sent me the dot cards for their entire collection. And now I'm trying to decide, is that something that you guys want to see me actually swatch them all out in real time in a video? Or would you just like for me to go, hey guys, look, spoiler alert, this is coming. Here's what the Paul Rubens colors look like. Like, here's what the Da Vinci colors look like. Or do you want to actually see them swatched out? So drop me a comment and let me know. You'd love to see me actually swatch the colors because, you know, sometimes you like to just sit back with a swatching video and relax and enjoy all the pretty things. Or, no, swatching's not my thing. I'd rather see you paint with them. You know what I mean? So just let me know. Already, Nissa says yes. Please swatch. So if you are not familiar with the Da Vinci paint line, perhaps you'd love to see their colors. I have lots of thoughts and things to share when I do share Da Vinci, and it is coming very soon here on the channel. But let me know. There's that. Okay, so if you haven't already, please do hit that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week, I will be here at 6 p.m. again. So the schedule will be the same for next week. We're going to get into a groove and we're going to find a thing, and then it'll settle, and I'll update the banner that says, you know, I live stream at this time every week, and we will be back to a normal, it's always at this time. But for now, things could fluctuate a little bit, but next week I plan on being here with you at 6 p.m. just like today. So huge thank you to all my patrons and channel members, and to all of you who are using the links in the description below, because that definitely helps and you absolutely contribute to the funding of this channel, and I greatly appreciate you. So thank you so very, very much. Okay, again, check out the moderators' channels. Their links are in the description below. Thank you for hanging out with me today and painting this one, inspired by our color cubes. And there is a link to the color cubes in the description below. If you haven't gotten these yet, I think it's a definite recommend. It is a definite recommend. I honestly didn't think I would appreciate them as much as I do. And I'm excited to do some more. So if you have the color cubes and there's one that you would love to inspire a painting that we do together here on a Thursday evening, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Card number, I don't know, 45. I don't even know what 45 is, but you drop me the number to your favorite card from the collection and let me know. Maybe there's something you'd like to inspire a future painting. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all for being here. I am going to pop another video up right about there for you to watch next if you're watching this on the replay. Until next time, my friends, keep creating, and I'll see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.